Welcome to the second part of the Health and Wealth series of Coffee with Alissa. Can you give us a quick review of the dimensions of stress from last month's video?
We talked about stress and whether it's good or bad. And one of the things we're really going to dive into today are the three dimensions of stress. It's the physical, the biochemical, and the relational. So when we look at stress, our bodies are constantly being fighting external environmental factors. If we just leave our finances and don't take an active role in our finances, right, they're slowly just gonna kind of dwindle away. If we're not actively investing or actively putting money into things that are going to grow our wealth, then the economy and kids and everyone is just going to constantly pull away at it, right? And kind of the same idea with our health. If we're not taking an active role battling against external environmental stressors, your body is going to get beaten up over time, and there is a natural degradation or degeneration that happens over life.
Can you help us understand the difference between micro and macro trauma and injuries?
A healthy physical stress would be something like a weightlifting, resistance bands, or going out and doing a run. But then you have injuries, okay, which can be on a macro level. The easiest way to look at it is car accidents, your whiplash injuries, your sports injuries, concussions. The other thing that we're looking at is the micro traumas. These are probably much more common on a regular basis. We're doing one right now, sitting. So this idea of sitting at a chair for a long period of time, that's a micro trauma. Our head comes forward because we're trying to look at our screen, or we're looking down at our phones constantly. So those are micro traumas that are accumulating over time.
So how do we assess risk properly?
Risk tolerance, right? This is something that you go into with your clients, I'm sure, at a very, very heavy level. What is the activity doing? Okay, is it ultimately bringing you a level of joy or satisfaction to your life? But on the counter side of that, what is the risk in terms of long-term injury or ultimately really harming your body's ability to be healthy? I think that assessment of risk, I think it changes significantly as we age, decade to decade. So it's something that, again, we talked about last time, communication with our healthcare team, with your wealth care team. This idea of assessing that risk regularly.
And something that you mentioned in the first discussion that we had was about aging, and you talked a little bit about accelerated versus graceful aging. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more?
This idea of living healthfully to 100 years old. I truly believe that we're designed that we could all live well into our 90s and beyond, and lead a very, very quality of life. And so this idea that we have, especially in the United States, that, I don't want to live to 100 because our vision of 100 is we're going to be in a nursing home the last 10, 15 years of our life. And I would agree with that. If that's the vision that we have, I don't want to live that vision. We're on this, slow, steady decline. So we get to that, age 60, and it's like, we're really, really hurting in terms of our quality of life. And much of that can be traced back to accidents, injuries, this idea of physical micro, macro stresses that accumulated throughout our early life.
Can you give us 3 quick takeaways for our physical health?
Making adjustments, and we went back to the previous talk where we talked about assessment. Adjustments being number 1, number 2 being your activity level. Choosing activities that provide the greatest benefit, the greatest fulfillment of joy and activity with our families, our friends, our communities, but also with as minimal risk as possible. And then the final one is making sure that aligning with your goals, right? So if you truly want to be on that path of graceful aging, then we have to start making choices today, in our 20s and 30s. We have to make choices today that are going to impact how we live our life for the long term.
Shifting to the biochemical makeup and how that affects us, can you start by defining toxicity versus deficiency?
When we're looking at this really simply, anything that goes into your mouth, or anything that's breathed into the lungs or anything that goes on your skin has the ability to change your internal chemistry level. So our body needs a certain level of nutrients. If we're not taking in a sufficient number of those nutrients, then you're going to have a deficiency. Deficiency is not getting enough. Toxicity is getting too much, okay? Getting too much of something that our body can't handle. Anything can be toxic if you get too much of it. So really it comes down to, are you getting a sufficient number of nutrients to the body tissues?
Like, we're totally bombarded by ads for supplements. When people are shopping for these supplements, what are some important things for them to consider?
In my office, we really come from the idea that it truly should be a supplement, which it's in addition to a good, healthy, quality diet. Unfortunately, because of over-farming, much of the nutrient quality in our apples and in our fruits and vegetables, even in our meats, it's significantly different today than it was 50 years ago or 100 years ago. Many supplements you can't just get over the counter. You can get many of them, but there are certain quality of supplements that you can only get inside a healthcare practitioner's office. And then of course there's a difference between what is the actual supplement made up of. Is it made up of a hard compact tablet, or is it a powder, or is it a capsule that's a powder inside of a capsule? I tell you, the stuff that you're going to get at a big box store, I'm not even going to name any names, but I can almost guarantee most of that stuff you might as well just take it out of the bottle and flush it down the toilet.
Can you talk a little bit about true diet and know what that should look like?
Again, it really comes down to the alignment of your goals and what you're looking to do, but what I have seen is, you want to avoid the processed foods, right? If it comes in a box or a bag or comes from a fast food restaurant that you can go through a drive-through, not the healthiest choice. Getting a wide variety, so varying that diet up. If you found yourself getting stuck in a plateau, especially if you're trying to lose weight, varying that has a big impact. Our body is 70% water, depending on the tissue that you're actually looking at. So, if you're looking at diet, you want to look at the cycling, you want to look at when you're eating, which is fasting, but ultimately you have got to be making sure you're getting enough water in your day. Most people are very, very dehydrated. The simplest way to make sure that you're getting enough water in your system, take your body weight, take your body weight in pounds, divided by 2, that's the number of ounces that you should drink.
Well, Dan, thanks again for joining us. I look forward to our next conversation on the relational factors of health.